All right. Well, let's get a if you have a ball around or some sort of tool like that, grab that. We'll also need the foam roller today. Uh, Looks like Diane's having a little trouble getting on. But okay. So just to start with today, if you have shoes on, sorry, we're gonna take them off. We're gonna take the extra 3 minutes and do that part because I do want to start when we have a chance to start and do a real thorough rolling. I want to make sure we do it the right way. So we're going to take the minute and pop your shoes off. You can leave your socks on, but if you have a ball, we're going to use that ball and just kind of roll around underneath your foot. And we want to get under the ball of your foot also. So right under the ball, almost under your toes. You can kind of use the ball to stretch your toes out. So we're rolling up and down, side to side. If you don't have a ball, you can use a roller for that. No big deal. It just, it doesn't get into any nooks and crannies, but there is value to rolling back and forth on your roller still. But yeah, whatever kind of ball you have around, obviously the more squishy the ball, the less pressure you'll get on your foot. But especially now, when you may not get much barefoot time outside, it's really important to just kind of move those tissues around. If you think about like reflexology and all that kind of stuff, there's so much that has to do with the nerves in the bottom of your feet. It's one of the highest concentrations. And there's lots of things that plug into the bottom of your feet. So, bottom of your feet, there's areas that innervate all the way up to like pelvic floor and all of that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that we keep the bottom of your feet nice and pliable. And so we'll take this extra little bit of time to roll out when we can. So I've switched sides. If you've done one side, let's go ahead and do the other. We'll spend about 30 seconds rolling each foot, rolling each side. We try to go back and forth, up and down, try to go different directions. Get that ball all the way to your heel if you can. So all the way back by the part of your heel that hits the ground. Makes it a little bit easier for the ball to slip out, but we're just rolling around there. And then we're actually going to take a second and stretch your feet out a little bit more here. We'll do a little bit more than usual. So think about spreading your feet nice and wide. So we're gonna stand tall, but think about if your feet were your hands, let's try to cover as much of the ground with your hands or with your feet as possible. So we stand and then we try to spread toes nice and wide as you can. And when you look down at your feet, we want the front of your foot to be wider than the back. So think of it almost like a tripod. So you think big toe, and then like the outside of your foot here, not necessarily your pinky toe, but the outside of the ball of your foot, and then your heel. Okay, so those are going to be on the ground. We're spreading toes as wide as you can, just like you'd be stretching your hands or your fingers out. All right, and then from there, we can start to kind of flex your toes, move your toes a little bit. And then from there, we can go into sort of a downward facing dog. And we're just going to flex your toes, push your heel down to the ground. All right, so we're just getting kind of a big stretch on your toes here before we begin. And then we'll roll your toes over. So now your shoelaces are on the ground. And we can work your way down into stretching the front of your shin. That's kind of where we'll pick up our foam roll. Okay, so now we took care of our feet. Let's use the foam roller. Come back here on your ankle. So we're rolling kind of just on the front of your ankles and your shin. And good, let's go ahead and roll over. Dory, I saw you had your tiger tail there.
Yep.
I'm gonna go if that's better for you for rolling, you know, like you can use it on the outside of your shins and stuff. Feel free to use that. You don't have to use the roller. But I'm just rolling the outside of my calf here. Basically today, gang, we're gonna be really emphasizing foam roll. We'll go through a really thorough roll, more than we would typically do, much more than we would typically do on a, you know, before a regular workout. And so with your legs, we're thinking all four sides, front, back, inside, outside. A little tougher to get the inside of your calves, but what we'll do is turn your toes, not only turn your shins and toes in to face each other, you know, like you take them and turn them in, but also starting with your feet a little bit wider. As you turn your toes in, we're also going to put a little pressure like you're trying to pull your feet together. And what that'll do is kind of roll that tissue out. Okay, so you've got a little bit of, even without moving on the roller, you've got a little leeway there. So you can pull your feet together and you'll really notice that you get the inside of your calf. Hey, Diane, glad you made it on. So you were spinning, you had the spinning circle of death on my side for a bit. So glad it popped on. All right, so we're still on our calves, just taking a little extra time with all of that. Remember, we're trying to hit inside, outside, front, and back. All right, so we've taken care of lower legs below the knees. So we took care of your feet, took care of your calves. Now let's move that roller up underneath your hamstrings or underneath the back of your thighs. And from there, again, you can roll up and down, which is pretty standard. But to really start to shift things around and move those tissues around, bring blood flow to the area, we can also shift side to side as you roll. Okay, so we're going to be rolling up and down, but we're also going to be shifting side to side. You can do this with your hips on the floor. So if you want to just stay seated, I would go to one leg though. Right, so if you go to one side, you can kind of shift back and forth, side to side, without putting too much weight in your arms or in your hands. And once you take care of the back, let's roll over to the side. So you're going to get the outside of each thigh from your knee to your hip bone. All right, so this one you can keep your foot on the ground to take away some of the pressure. Take some of the pressure off. And as you're rolling that side, you're going to roll, kind of rolling over to the front. And again, we want that roller to pass over each spot on your leg. We're just working between your knee and your hip bone right now. And so I've only rolled one thigh, the front. And that's because I went from the outside, rolling over to the front of your thigh, and then rolling to get the inside. All right, so it's just kind of easier to continue with one side and roll as you go, and then switch sides rather than doing the outside of your right thigh, then the outside of your left thigh, then going to the outside of or front of your right, front of your left. So it's just easier to do all of them in one kind of continuous roll. So now I'm going to the outside of my second leg, which is my left leg. Rolling over to the front. Again, you can use that same principle, shifting back and forth. Right, so not only are we rolling up and down, but we're also kind of pulling that tissue back and forth. I think the more you can, I would say, rough up that tissue, the more you can rough things up, the more you're going to bring blood flow to the area, the more you get those segments of muscles rolling over each other. That's kind of what we want. I've used the analogy before of beef jerky versus filet mignon. Okay, so we want to keep our muscles nice and tender and moving well like filet mignon would, but as you get older, things tend to progress more towards beef jerky. But the more we can roll, the more blood we bring to the area, the more juicy we keep those tissues, and they just move better that way. So that's why we roll. All right, let's go from your butt bone to your waistband. So now we are still going to go from front or from back to front. So we'll start, kind of on one side. So I'm rolling my right cheek right now, and then rolling over that little space in between your hip bone and the crest of your hip, and then on over to your hip flexor. And then we'll repeat that on the other side. Rolling one cheek all the way over to your side. Again, not only rolling, but trying to shift forward and back. Shifting side to side. And good. All right, let's go ahead and have a seat on the roller. And here we can cross your ankle over your knee. Not only are we getting a stretch, but we're also going to roll that side. So you should be rolling the side that is getting stretched. And switch sides. Find a spot that needs a little bit more attention, you can hang out there. And good. All right, let's go roller about midway up your back. So kind of just underneath your shoulder blades. And from here, let's, before we start rolling, let's make sure we're kind of looking more towards the ceiling rather than arch or hunching forward and pulling everything forward and having your eyes like looking between your knees. We'll just let ourselves not arch backwards, but we want to be more neutral. So you're going to be looking at the ceiling. You can support your head if needed, but we just want to be a little bit more neutral as you roll rather than curling up and looking forward. Okay, so we're just rolling up and down, nice and easy. You can also tilt to a side as you roll. Tilt to the other side. And we'll go ahead and put your hips on the ground and raise one arm. So let's raise your right arm, and then you're going to roll to your right side. Okay, so here we're just going to move your body back and forth. For me, if I pick up my hips on this one, I find it really, really uncomfortable. It's just too much pressure to really be able to relax into this. So I just leave my hips on the floor and move myself back and forth for a few, and then I'll move the roller. And this one will work not into your armpit, but kind of approaching your armpit, rolling those muscles on the outside of your ribs. Let's go to the other side. So again, just leaving your hips on the floor. And good. All right. Keeping a foam roll right about mid back, so a little, maybe a vertebrae or two under your shoulder blades. All right. Again, we're going to be looking at the ceiling. All right. From here, we're going to do a little spine mobilizing movement. So we think about whatever spinal joint is on the roller, that's the one we're going to move. Okay. So from here, we're just going to go forward and backward like you're doing a little mini crunch. And I want you to think of right where the roller is, that's your pivot point, okay, and not much else. So it doesn't take much, all right? This we're going to take nice and easy. So we're going to go up and down once or twice, about, I guess, 2 or 3 times. And then we're also going to tilt side to side. So if I had my elbows up, we'd be going side like you're trying to put your elbow down in your pocket, and down in your pocket. So this is why it's important to be neutral and not crunched up forward like you're doing a sit-up. All right, so we should be looking at the ceiling here. After you do one spot, you're going to move that roller up one joint, or usually about 1 or 2 inches. And so then we repeat the process there. So a little mini crunch, a little mini sit-up, okay, mobilizing that joint forward and backward. Now we tilt side to side. Doesn't take much here, guys, if we're really isolating a joint. All right, move the roller up. We do a mini sit-up. So we're flexing forward and backward, and then side to side. So again, thinking about whatever joint is on the roller, that's the one we want to move. Forward, backward, side to side. We're just working our way up. As you get closer to your neck, it's going to be harder because you won't have enough weight up top, but we can still kind of get that movement in. And last one. Flexing up and down, side to side. Doesn't take much. And good, let's relax. Using the foam roller, we're gonna sit on one end, let your spine go down the roller, and rest your head at the other end.
Well, mine's too short.
You got a short one, Dory?
Yeah.
It's okay. You can do this without you can do it without the roller. And so from here, we're just going to go arms out to the side, and we'll do a floor angel. So we're laying on our back, low back glued to the ground. So making contact, but you don't necessarily have to be pushing hard. Right? From here, we're just going to go up and down, taking those shoulders through range of motion. If you find a chest stretch that you like, you can stick with it. We're just going to spend about 20 more seconds doing this. So you're probably going to find less stretch with your arms low, more stretch as your arms raise up. It may help to kind of push yourself back just a little bit, so you're not actually going to be moving, shuffling along the roller, but you're just basically going to be pulling the skin on your back down. Right? Sometimes that's a good cue to get your shoulder blades in the right spot. All right, from here now, instead of straight arms, we're going to go a floor slide. So W, making the letter W with your arms, with your head as the middle, or reach up into the letter Y. Sliding down. If you don't have a roller, it's okay. You can just slide those arms right along the floor. And good, let's relax. Take the roller out from under you. And we're gonna curl up on the floor. Okay, knees up even with your waistband. So we want your hips at 90 degrees, hands out in front of you. And then we're gonna open up. So if there's any shoulder pain, or the main thing we want here is rotation. So with your spine, we flexed forward and backward, we flexed side to side, and now we're gonna rotate. So if there's any shoulder issues that prevent you from reaching out like that, just keep your hand in here on your rib cage, and we'll open up and look to get your chest to face the ceiling. Relax your head if you can. It also helps to have a pillow nearby for this one. You could even use a foam roller. But we're just opening up and staying open. Each time you exhale, try to sink into that stretch a little bit more. And relax. Let's roll over to the other side. You can open your or put your arm out straight if you like that stretch. That's a good chest stretch for you. But remember, the key thing here, the thing that we're most concerned with, is getting rotation with your spine. And good. From there, we're just going to roll to your back. Let's push both legs up towards the sky, bottom of your feet showing towards the ceiling, and you'll hold on to one leg. So we're going to give yourself a hamstring stretch here. Just drop that other leg down, nice and straight. We should be stretching the back of your leg here. You might get a hip flexor stretch on the other side, the leg that's lower. And good, let's go to the other side. Just pulling that leg. If you have a strap or a band, it can also help to loop that band over your foot, maybe over the ball of your foot. Then you can pull your toes back toward you, and you get a much bigger stretch that way versus, if you have your toes pointed. So really relaxing your head here, trying to get the back of your lower leg to the floor, and trying to keep your other leg facing up towards the ceiling. And good. From here, let's roll back to your side. If you can, you're going to grab shoelaces. If you aren't able to grab your shoelaces, you may be able to use a strap or a band to do that. But what we're going to do is just lay on your side, and then we want to get your knees on top of each other, right? So you don't feel much of a stretch if your hip is bent and you're pressing forward. As soon as you extend your hip back and try to get one knee over top of the other, that's where you're going to get the stretch. You should feel this in your quad. This is a stretch we don't do that often. Not sure why exactly, but we do mainly hip flexor stretches, but not a lot of quad stretches. And good, let's relax, go to the other side. So to grab your shoelaces, you can bring that knee up, but then once you have them, we're going to extend back. Really try to push your knees right over top of each other. It's going to take a little bit of work from the cheek that you're, of the leg that you're stretching. That actually works out in our favor here, because when your cheek is turned on, your quad is turned off. So we'll get a good stretch there. and relax. All right, sitting up, finally making our way towards the ceiling. Let's turn one hip in, one hip out. I just think this is the easiest way to do a piriformis stretch. So we're just going to go here, trying to keep both elbows on the floor. Each breath you take, think about taking that breath deep down into your belly. As your belly expands, you should be pressing into your thigh. And then as you exhale, you'll have a little bit of room to sink down into the stretch a little bit more. And good, let's go to the other side. So we turn one in, one out, then you're going to take your chest right over that forward leg. Using those nice deep breaths, breathe into your thigh. And good. Let's come up to all fours. One leg out to the side for a groin stretch. If you like to move with this one, so you can move forward and backward. If you like to move, you can move. If you get a good stretch and you like that stretch just holding still, you can also hold still. And let's switch sides. And good. All right, let's come up to one knee. So we're pushing that tailbone down like you have a heavy weight hanging from it. So we're just going to push forward for a second, and then we'll move that knee out to 45 degrees and push out to 45 degrees. So nothing else will change except the position of your foot. And each time we stretch, we're just thinking about pushing your knee forward a little bit over your toes, and we come back. And even though as you push forward, even though you're looking to push forward, you're looking to move forward, we just want to keep that tailbone tucked down so that we're increasing the stretch, right? So it's not about how far you get here. It's about pushing forward a little bit against your tailbone, which is down. All right, we'll do the same thing on the other side. We push forward that little bit, move out to about 45 degrees. Forward there. Last one. And good. All right, let's go ahead and stand. We're just going to finish up with a couple of three-way lunges to put everything back together again. So let's do 3 times around with each leg. So we're going to take your left leg and step forward into a forward lunge. So nice and slow and easy. Then we bring our feet back together. Take that same left leg out to the side for a lateral lunge. Take that same left leg backwards for a reverse lunge. So that's one time around. We're going to go 3 times total. So we go forward, out to the side, making sure everything feels like a team effort, stepping back. Last one, stepping forward, pushing that heel through the floor so you can use your hips, out to the side and back. Okay, let's go to the other side. So we step forward with your right leg, out to the side with your right leg, and back with your right leg. That's one time around. Nice and slow and controlled here. Last one, stepping forward, stepping out to the side, and back. Okay. All right, that's a wrap. So again, lots and lots of value to these recovery days. You may find yourself, going outside or going for a ride or a treadmill run or something like that, but there's lots of value to getting into those ranges of motion and stretching things out, especially at the end of the week.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So when we're doing the shoulder rotations on the ground, for my shoulder that is the one that hurts, I notice I get a catch under the rib cage on the opposite side. Will that like muscle rib cage scrubbing that you do help if I do that before?
So when you're opening, like even if you have your hand on your rib cage?
Well, I just had it at my shoulder. I just did the elbow, but yeah, when I even at the gym, when I do full open, it catches under the ribs a little bit.
On the opposite side?
On the opposite side. So it catches on the left side.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that would like loosen up.
Yeah. So a little, maybe just holding a bit of pressure there with your fingertips if you can. So by putting pressure with your fingertips, you're sort of stretching the tissue more.
Okay.
And then when you release with your fingertips, you should get some room there.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So just like a massage therapist would, put an elbow into a knot or, a thumb into a knot and then try to get it to relax or release.
Yeah, press that trigger point and then release. Yeah.
Yeah. Same idea.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
You got it, guys. Have an excellent day, and we'll see you tomorrow for the last week of the year.
Excellent. Thank you.
See ya.